As discussed earlier, the spinal cord is a conduit between the peripheral environment and the central nervous system, or a higher level of central nervous system. Now that we know what the structure of the spinal cord looks like, let's look at how it can receive information and respond. As we know, the information arriving from the environment, let it be the outside environment through somatic, or the inside environment, the viscera, through autonomic nerves, sensory nerves will deliver this information through the spinal nerves, somas of which are in the dorsal root ganglion, and the axon will arrive to the dorsal horn. If they are autonomic, just a reminder, if they are autonomic sensory fibers, they would synapse in the deeper layers of the matter. This sensory information is then taken up by the motor neurons. The motor neurons, which are sitting, if they are somatic motor neurons, sitting in the ventral horn, and they will deliver the information or the command from the central nervous system to the periphery. The simplest responses of the central nervous systems are reflexes. Reflexes are involuntary, stereotyped, patterned responses to a sensory stimulus. The reflex arc starts with a sensory receptor. The information which is picked up by the receptor is carried to the central nervous system, typically to the spinal cord or the brainstem, via a sensory nerve. And this is the afferent side of the reflex arc. In response, a motor nerve will carry the commands from the central nervous system to the periphery. These are the efferent neurons, or the efferent side of the reflex arc. Then we need an effector. The effector organ, which in most cases is a muscle, is also part of the reflex arc. Except for the most primitive, or the simplest stretch reflexes, usually there are some interneurons interposed between the sensory and the motor nerves. Now let's look at our drawing again. So the afferent side, drawn in green, are the sensory nerves and arriving to the spinal cord. Let's add the interneurons, and these interneurons could be staying ipsilaterally, synapsing to a motor neuron. They could also have collaterals to go contralaterally to give information over to the contralateral side to be delivered to another effector, another muscle, or they could also have collaterals which go across different levels. Then the motor fibers, or the efferent side, leaving the central nervous system through the ventral horn and through the ventral rootlets of the spinal nerve. We need to remember that the reflexes are involuntary, quick responses by the central nervous system. They have two major roles. One type of reflexes are crucial to control skeletal muscle tone. Other important role for the other group of reflexes will be protection. These are typically the withdrawal reflexes. When something noxious occurs on your skin, and that will result in a withdrawal of a limb, typically. The first type of reflexes are usually described as stretch reflexes or deep reflexes, while the second types are the flexor reflexes, which are usually cutaneous. The sensors are cutaneous sensors or receptors which are activating the reflex arc.